Honored to have talking to this gentleman before and honored to have him on the show now. One of the most respected guys in the business. I absolutely love listening to Stacy Keach narrate one of my favorite shows, which is American Greed, CNBC's longest running primetime original series, by the way. And a new season begins Tuesday, September 27th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. He's an actor, narrator. He's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's a Georgia boy, kind of, sort of. Mike Hammer himself, by the way. Mr. Keach, how are you, sir?
Very nice to talk to you, Jason. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah.
Season 15.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We're on 15 years. It's just unbelievable. I guess, well, there's no end to greed. And I think that's the reason we've been on the air for so long.
Yeah, 15 years. I mean, when you started doing this gig, because you were there at the very beginning, did you think it was going to take off like this? No?
Never. I had never. But then after about a couple of seasons, I began to understand that we were talking, our shows were about something that's in the news every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, and unfortunately, I mean, it's just, but there is no end to greed. That's what we learned when we were halfway down the road, about season 7. The stories began to become much more timely in terms of being ripped out of the headlines. Literally, last, our story not much more than a year old, and that's where we are today.
Yeah,
our stories are much more, about what's going on right now.
There are some stories, Stacy, that I'll watch and I'll be like, oh my God, I know that guy. or and like that, isn't that the worst? If you're, it's kind of like getting into a relationship and finding out that your new girlfriend or wife does porn like she did back in the day. So like you're watching American Greed and you're like, oh my God, like I'm less than 6 degrees from that story. I've seen a couple of them like that. That's kind of tricky. Do you get feedback like that from your audience that goes, oh my God, I had no idea that he was into that. That's what happened to my neighbor.
That happens all the time.
Really?
I think people are, they're overwhelmed with, most of our stories deal with situations where people get involved because they think something sounds too good to be true. And generally, if that's the case, it generally is. Also, these guys are so slick. Their spiel is so convincing that you're hard pressed to say no. You get involved, families turn on families. Families have fleeced other family members.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the worst stories, the stories that bother me the most, are the ones that take advantage of elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors and insurance companies who they create illnesses, and they or they prolong illnesses for money, to line their own pockets, and those stories really bother me. They really bother me.
Well, the finance stories that you guys do. So my finance guy is one of my good friends and college buddies, fraternity brothers, and I trust him. But my wife, on the other hand, is, let's just say, not as financially in tune as I am, and I'm a little bit older than she is. And I'm like, look, in order to get to a certain point where we want to get to eventually, you got to invest your money. I was like, talk to him. She watches too much American Greed, Stacy. You've destroyed her trusting anybody with her money. She just won't do it. And she always brings up, she's like, I think we're going to see Dan on American Greed. I really do.
Well, she's right. And I think that her caution, these are cautionary tales. And there's, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You've got to do diligence with any, as you say, we want to invest our money. We want our money to grow. We want to feel secure about it. God knows that, today, I'm not crazy. I think none of us are involved in the stock market, praying to God that it comes back. But anyway, yeah, I really think that your wife has got a good point. I mean, I think she's, better to be cautious than to throw your money away.
But there's some people that, that you have on, like you look at the overall theme of American Greed, 15 seasons, again, 15 seasons. This is the longest running primetime original season. And the ratings are still there, if not better, going into 15 seasons of this. Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with you and your narration. Don't let anybody tell you different.
Well, thank you. I can't.
Oh, no. There are certain shows where the VO guy is so good that I watch it because of that. The guy that does Oak Island is phenomenal, and he does a couple different shows like for Discovery and History, but you're in that same world, same category. Anyway, so you look at some of the stories that you have, a lot of the stories, and they're all obviously American Greed. That's what the show is about, money and this and that. You almost have to say to yourself that a large percentage of people that become financially successful, somewhere in that journey, they did something screwy and illegal and deceiving.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think, there's a very good chance that our ex-president and his family will be on our show one day.
That would be interesting.
I think that'd be a two-parter at least.
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
Yeah.
Is there any stories that you get, Stacy, that you said that there are some that makes you feel uncomfortable, but are there any that you have refused to do just because it's
no. I don't know. There's no reason to I would have no reason to refuse it. I mean, on what grounds? Moral grounds? No. I get deeply moved by some of the victims, and one of the shows that comes to mind. I think a lot of times people start out with good intentions and get involved, like this Elizabeth Warren, the Theranos. She started out, this machine that you put your finger and you put the blood drop in this machine, and it gives you all this diagnostic miraculous results. And I think she, when she started out, I think she really started out with good intentions to help people. And she just got caught up with the banks and the insurance companies and the medical profession, and it got worse and worse and worse. And it was about pride in her case, greed. She wanted to be the next Steve Jobs, she kept saying, and she wanted to. But those are rare cases. We are a true crime series. I mean, these are events. It's not fiction. These things really happen, and I think that's one of the reasons. I think why the show has been very successful. And I think Curtis Productions, our producers, they do a great job with this year particularly. I'm very excited. We have some animation in our shows, aside from, and I think the success of our shows has a lot to do with the quality of the interviews. If you have interesting people that are both the victims and also the perpetrators, if they're interesting, and law enforcement, the more charismatic, the better the show.
Well, you're eventually going to have to. American Greed kind of reminds me of Unsolved Mysteries. And Unsolved Mysteries.
It's very similar. Yeah, exactly.
The format, the longevity, the content, so on and so forth. So, American Greed has to always evolve, just like any other form of entertainment. You talk about adding the animation stuff. I think that you guys need to add something at the end when, Unsolved Mysteries started doing this in like a recap. You'd be like, all right, here's an update. I think that American Greed needs to do kind of a post show You know, that's a big thing. The Walking Dead, The Talking Dead. How about we do an American Greed post show? I would offer my services, Stacy, and you just have to pitch me. Say, hey, I got my boy Jason Bailey, and he's willing to do this. We do a post show, and we talk to people from the episode for 30 minutes.
This is a great idea.
Thank you.
I love this idea.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Well, you know who to talk to.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, you let them know. What do we call it though? American Greed bleeds. American Greed talks.
American Greed after
well, now,
there you go. I like that.
There is an American Greed podcast.
Yes.
That I've only I don't contribute. I'm not on that podcast. My voice is on, obviously, but would that intersect with this idea?
Sure, we can. Well, we can have the podcast host on the show. We can have the guest from the episode on the show. It was just like, just totally ripping off the format. Oak Island does it. Walking Dead does it. I mean, they're almost done with what they do. But this would be great. And now, which is great, you're not fighting for like shelf space, so to speak, because, I believe American Greed, you also can get it on the Peacock, right? You can get it on for streaming the next day. So you can go back and see. We just recently cut the cord, so no more satellite, cable, whatever. And we're strictly streaming. And the Peacock is one of our favorite apps to stream stuff on because American Greed is on there. So we can put the show, we can start it off. We don't even need to be on television. We just start it off on the app. Just saying.
I want to pitch this to Mike West, our producer on American Greed.
Okay. How about I write it up for you? I'll shoot you a text. You shoot me your email, and then we'll get working on this. Oh shit! I lost you. Hold on, sir. Oh Jesus, sir. Get you back on the show. You like the idea, correct, Mr. Keach?
I do indeed.
Okay, excellent.
I love it.
All right. Well, we can figure that out. We're talking business during this interview. We're talking about American. Let's talk about the first episode. This is the polygamist and the biofuel baron.
Right.
You follow Jacob Kingston, a CEO who appears to be a rising star in Utah's fledgling biofuel industry, until a member of a secretive polygamist group called the Order reveals that Kingston, one of the group's prominent members, is committing a $1.1 billion fraud with a flashy Bugatti driving Los Angeles fuel baron known as the Lion.
Lion.
If that's not a teaser, I don't know what is, Mr. Keach.
Yeah. Well, it's a fascinating show. You've got two worlds. You've got the world of the biofuel industry and then the world of polygamy coming together. It's fascinating. It really is. Very unusual. Very unusual.
A lot of money. A lot of money in that industry. I know this for a fact. There's a lot of government contract money in that industry.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds smart.
We also have a future show on cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand it, how it works at all. I really don't. And do you? You know how?
Yeah, cryptocurrency is very similar to credit cards when people didn't understand that the money wasn't tangible. It didn't exist. So cryptocurrency. Now the question is it real? There are people that are making billions of dollars off of this imaginary, currency. Just like, do you understand the metaverse, Mr. Keach?
Not really.
Okay. There are people making millions of dollars of opening up restaurants and nightclubs in a world that's not real. But people in their avatar life dressed as a, chicken go to these restaurants. And these people get paid for. There's a guy. Somebody was telling me there's a guy that opened up a restaurant in the metaverse and sold it for. He spent like $1,000 on it and sold it for like $2 million. Is that not nuts?
Unbelievable. Well, I don't get it. I don't know how it works. I don't know. But again, it's in that world. All the same parameters exist in terms of. You've got to be able to convince people that what they're doing is going to make money.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to assure them that it's safe and secure. And this is what fraudsters do. And you buy it. You come into it. My daughter, God love, she bought me $200 worth of Bitcoin. It's now worth 20 cents. I don't know. I don't know how people make money in that world. But did you say it's like credit cards?
Well, I'm using the reference of it's make believe, right? It's not tangible like the dollar or a coin. That's the only. I mean, other than that, I invested in it and I lost all my money in it. So I don't know.
What is the support for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, though? I mean, it's not on the gold standard, like paper.
No, but
paper.
But there are companies that mine for these. Actually, one of the issues that our country is having right now in the automotive industry is that we're not getting chips, and they're all coming from China. The reason we're not getting the chips is people think it's because of COVID and the workforce. That's not it at all. The reason why there are no chips available for these cars is because there are a handful of companies that are starting these giant mining operations. When I say mining, I'm talking about giant warehouses with computers, and they need the same chips that go into the automobiles to mine for cryptocurrency. That's where all these chips are going. That's why when you drive by a dealership, and they're
I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
You bring that's right, Jason. You bring up a great point. The crisis is the lack of computer chips. Who knew?
Because they're going to these companies. You know about this, Chuck?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I mean, it's just crazy because
you don't look like a crypto guy.
I'm not a crypto guy. I see the ATM. Are they called ATMs? Where you go into
you can buy
a Shell gas station and you can buy it?
What is the definition of a crypto guy?
Yeah.
Brandon, you might actually let's talk. Brandon might know better if Nate were here, he would definitely know. Brandon, would you like to explain to Mr. Keach about cryptocurrency?
It's basically just like an online form of currency is really all it is. I mean, like, you put your money into a bank account and half the time you never even get the cash out. So it's kind of just like, but it's not backed by anything. It's on the blockchain. So it's just like a union of all these different coins. You got like Ethereum and Bitcoin and, Darkcoin, Dogecoin, Litecoin. And it's basically just online currency pretty much. And it's untraceable, which a lot of people like. And I think there's something to do with taxes where it's more fun to have crypto instead of regular cash in the bank.
Because nobody knows how to tax it is why. and then when you lock it in your wallet and you forget your password, like that guy in the UK did, he's got billions of dollars of cryptocurrency stuck in a hard drive somewhere in a dump, then you're SOL, you're screwed. That's what crypto is, Mr. Keach.
How do you turn $1.7 million into $4.3 billion, though? I mean, that's an amazing change,
The thing, the common thread when watching American Greed, and again, I'm a diehard American Greed fan. I'm sure many of you listening are as well. But you look at the common thread, and it's almost scary because everybody knows somebody that's very similar to the master manipulator, usually good looking, whether male or female, right?
Right.
These people have this God-given ability to stand in a room, not be intimidated, and convince you.
That's it. You got it. You nailed it. That is precisely what happens.
They're all the same thing, though. It's all the same type of person, and we all know that person.
But, I think a lot of those people in the beginning started out with good intentions. No, well, maybe not a lot, but there are some. I think the lady who started this company, Theranos, with the machines that were you get a pinprick of your blood, you stick it in there, and it gives you full diagnostic ability. I mean, I think she started out really believing she was going to, help people. And she got so deeply involved with banks and insurance companies and medical profession that she got stuck.
Yeah, it happens a lot. I mean, you see that with a lot of these different stories. Chuck, you have a question
I agree.
For Mr. Keach?
Mr. Keach, I do. I have to tell you, sir, when Jason told me you're going to be on today, I actually texted him back and I said, icon. So my question is this. I saw, so when you had a Walk of Fame, I think you got a star on the Walk of Fame in like 2019. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So when that happens, because it's probably never happened to me, I'm guessing. Do they just like tell you, hey, this is the date it's going to happen, this is where it's going to be located, and you can invite anybody you want? The reason I'm asking is I saw you had like Matt LeBlanc, a few other celebrities around you, but are these people that are close to you, or is it like, hey, these people have been in shows with you or movies with you, so they're coming? Or is it like your list, you invite who you want? How does that work?
Well, it's kind of a combination of the two. Yeah, I mean, I was doing Man with a Plan with Matt, and I asked him to, if he would introduce me, and he very graciously said yes. But the people who attend are mostly your family and friends,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember who your Walk of Fame is in between? Who your star is in between?
I do. I'm stuck on my left. I've got Charlton Heston, and thank God he's on my left instead of, what I mean. And Johnny Mercer on my right, who I share being born in. We're both born in Savannah, Georgia. So I'm very honored. I mean, I've got, I'm in good company.
That's great.
And well deserved, might I add. I mean, you look at your resume, and it's a stand. I read that you actually you were the first choice for the role of Father Damien, right? In The Exorcist in '73, and you turned it down, right?
I didn't turn it down. No. I don't know. No, it was. No, what happened was my agent wanted. I had to audition for that. I never forget. I was in the Share Netherlands Hotel, and I was with Linda Blair and William Peter Blatty and Bill Friedkin in the room, and I gave a great audition. My agent said, "You got the part, but they offered you X amount of dollars. I can get more." I said, "Well, I don't want to lose the part." That night, William Peter Blatty and William Friedkin went to see Jason Miller in that championship season on Broadway. Went out to dinner with him afterwards, and decided he's going to play the part because and they called my agent. And my agent called me on Monday and said, "You're not going to do it." I said, "What?" They went with somebody else. I said, "Why?" I said, "They should never have asked for more money. I should have just said, yes, I'll do it. Can't take it, But the good part of that story is that years later, William Peter Blatty came back to me, and I did the ninth configuration, the Twinkle Twinkle Killer Kane, it was called. It was a movie.
Did you ever ask for more money ever again?
I don't. Money is not the thing that motivates me in terms of acting. I mean, it's that's my agent's job. The role is what and because I love doing Shakespeare in my younger days, and that doesn't pay. And so if you have a family, you have to make some money, in order. And so I began to become more money conscious as I began to have children, Now that I'm a granddad for the first time, I just became a granddad.
Congrats.
Thank you. My daughter, just gave birth to a baby boy, and my son's wife is about ready to give birth to a baby girl. So my wife and I, are thrilled to be first-time grandparents.
What are the grandparents' names though? Every grandpa, grandma has a different name. What are your names going to be?
I think that's going to be up to. They can call me whatever they want. I know that my grandfather was named I Daddy because my mother used to say, "Hi, Daddy," when she was young, and so I don't know why my grandfather became I Daddy, but that was his name.
I Daddy. You were so ahead of the curve. Steve Jobs probably owes you residuals. That's
the metaverse. The
the
metaverse.
metaverse. That's fantastic. Brandon, do you have a question for Mr. Keach before we let him go?
Yeah, like Chuck was saying, you're very iconic. Your voice, I've heard it all over. Let's say American Greed goes for like another 20 years. You're not able to do it. Who would you want to replace you?
That's easy. Jason Bailey. Sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know about 20 years. I don't know about that, but I guess we have a few more years. I'm sure. I'm looking forward to perhaps our former president and their family being guests on our show.
Chuck's hating this because I know he's a fan. I can just,
I'm not,
I just feel the uncomfortableness.
I'm not saying I'm a fan. I just think it's funny.
He just throws it in there.
Yeah.
Is there a role that you ever turned down that you regret?
Well, yes. There. Going back to my very beginning of my career, I was doing a play off Broadway called McBurned. It was about Lyndon Johnson as the Scottish king. I can't say, and he was responsible for the assassination of John O'Kennedy of Kennedy. It was Barbara Garson wrote it. It was off Broadway, and as a result of that, Robert Altman saw it and he decided he wanted to do a movie. But he didn't want me to do it. He wanted the actor who was playing the part that I created on the West Coast to do it. And I was very upset about that. But then he came back to me and he said, I'm doing a war movie. And I'd love to have you be in it. And but it's going to be improvised. And I had just had a terrible experience on Catch 22. I was told I was too young to be in it, so I was not happy at this particular moment, and I turned it down. I could have been Donald Sutherland in MASH.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Then you would have been on numerous extremely long-running television shows.
Yeah.
Hey, that's true.
You would be the King Daddy Keach of King Daddy. One thing I wanted to bring up before I let you go, and I don't think the last time we talked, I remember there was a couple things that I wasn't able to get to in the radio world, obviously because of time, but I was reading, tell me the truth to this, because I find this very fascinating. You created, produced, and directed Tales of the Texas Rangers.
That was my dad. That was my father.
That was your father that did that in the 50s for NBC Radio, right?
That's right. That was my dad. That's when I started. That's when I was 12 years old, and I went down. My dad was Stacy Keach Sr., and I went down and watched him do these radio shows, and that's when I really I decided I wanted to be an actor. I was about 12 years old. But that was my dad, yeah. Tales of the Texas Rangers.
And that show still airs.
Yeah, on these old-time radio shows, yeah.
That's amazing. That's the point that I was getting at. So, I read, Thursday nights on KNX 1070, which is probably one of the very few AM stations that exist. But, as a radio person and being a broadcaster for the past 30 years, I have so much respect from where radio came from. Not so much where it's going, but where it came from.
Right.
And as a kid, they would sell, I'm only 47, but as a kid, I would hear stories of, gathering around the radio, my Little Orphan Annie and The Shadow and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely. Sky King.
Yeah. So I bought cassettes as a kid. I remember they had them on the magazine rack of some of these old radio shows. And I remember sitting down and listening to them, and maybe subconsciously that's when I got bit by the bug. But when I read this, I was like, wow. And it still airs. That's the craziest thing. This radio show where everything was all inclusive. I mean, the jingles, the acting, the voices was all done in studio. That's absolutely fascinating that your father did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I loved going down there, watching Joel McCrea, Willard Waterman, all these wonderful old David Bruce, wonderful actors, great voices, and I just loved it, and to watch and the Foley, the sound effects were all live in those days. They didn't do them, they didn't sweeten too much afterward. There was not a lot of post production. Most of it was done live, and that was exciting to hear those, the horses, and it was, I loved it. It was magic to me. Well, radio has always been a form of magic in a sense, because you use your imagination in terms of what's coming at you, in terms of the tone of the voices coming at you.
Yeah, well, it used to be that way. Unfortunately, it's not going in the imagination way. So imagine.
You don't think so?
Oh, I know so. That's why I'm out of it. It's the that I got fired, but it's the imagine you could be creative, because there's so much lacking in the business. Not saying that there aren't broadcasters that still have personality and creativity. A lot of them are my friends, but they're the older guys. The younger guys younger people being brought up in the business just don't get it. They don't understand that they're in customer service. They don't understand the theater of the mind. They don't understand being bit by the bug. They don't understand that you have to work 24/7. It's not a punch in, punch out job.
That's for sure.
They don't understand that. And I blame a lot of that on society as well. But podcasting is, I believe, I've been doing this for a minute now, is what radio was when I got into it and what radio should be.
Well, you know what? I'm going to start maybe becoming more active in that world. I've been asked to, but I haven't. I haven't, because I'm busy. I haven't gone there, and maybe I should.
Yeah, you should. You'd be, the stories that you have to tell. Amazing. I'd produce every single episode and sit there with a box of popcorn and a soda pop, just listening to the stories that you have to tell.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.
All right. Well, let me let you go. I'm going to get yelled at. I am going to text you my email, and then we're going to get this American Greed talk show on. This will be record history on the BS podcast that I pitched an idea to the iconic, the legendary Stacy Keach. He liked it, and it actually comes to fruition. That
would be great. All right, Jason.
That's a win-win. American Greed, CNBC, Tuesday, September 27, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Season 15. The great Stacy Keach. Thanks for all the time, sir, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks, Jason. All right, bud.
Bye-bye. Take care. You too, sir. Bye-bye.